Hello and welcome. I just want to take a moment to thank our host Hank and Fellowships of the Spirit for hosting this event and for hosting a series of workshops on the Peruvian shamanic traditions starting here in August. I really am excited about this webinar because it's a chance for you all to, in a virtual way, meet me and maybe get to understand a little bit of my teaching style and if there's something there that calls to you. In a past webinar called Shaman Basics, I covered the linguistic and anthropological understandings of the word shaman and how it applies to the peoples of South America, especially Peru and Bolivia. That is available also for free, and what I really wanted to do in this class was to address two questions. The first one is, what is Peruvian shamanism? And the second one being, how can the practice of shamanism enrich my spiritual life? So, I am the head of an organization called the Salkamune Ayu, which disseminates this information on earth-honoring spiritual traditions, especially those that come from Peru. The Qatari tradition, which is the tradition of the Salkamune Ayu, is a tradition of Peruvian cross-cultural shamanism. It is derived from the traditional processes of the Andean Pakukuna and the Kayawaya traditions, blended with the knowledge and practices of the northern coastal Uchama curanderismo. These practices form a basis for what is known, quote-unquote, as shamanism in Peru. Of course, there are many other tribes and many other family traditions throughout Peru, but the best known are the Pakukuna and the tradition of curanderismo. So, of these three elements, the element that most informs the work and the teachings that I offer is the Andean Pakukuna tradition. And the Andean Pakukuna tradition is prevalent throughout all of the Peruvian Andes. It is a tradition that has been around for thousands and thousands of years, and it is most commonly understood as a tradition of nature mysticism. But to really give you an understanding of this tradition and the peoples that it comes from, my primary teachers were originally all Quero Indians. And the Quero Indians are a tribe that lives about 16,000 to 21,000 feet above sea level in the mountains above the sacred capital of Cusco, Peru. And I just wanted to share some pictures that I've taken while I had been in the sacred Quero nations. This first slide is a picture of the village of Kiko, where my goddaughter lives. And as you can see, the housing style is still just rock with mud and dung mortar and thatched roofs, and an environment that is extremely hostile and not the best for growing crops. The majority of their foods are potatoes and corn, and of course rice that they bring up the mountains with them. But here in the Quero nations, the daytime temperatures can be upper 70s to lower 90s, nighttime temperatures below freezing. This is the type of environment that these people live in. This is a picture of me with my Kero family and holding my goddaughter Lorita Ellen. Interestingly enough, my compadre Maria is one of the few high Alto Masayos, female Alto Masayos in all of the Kero Nation. Here's another picture of another village in Keros, and in the background you can see their most sacred mountain, Mount Wamalipa, a very powerful mountain deity that they entrust with their safety and security and life. As you can see, it is a very harsh environment. No grass grows. It's high above the timberline. The only source of fire is either wood that you have brought up or gas that you have hiked up with, or Ramadan. And it takes, in this oxygen-deprived environment, 1 to 3 hours to get a fire started, just to give you an understanding of these people. This is a picture taken a little further down the mountains, entering the last and lowest of the Kero villages. Another picture in Keros, just to get you an idea of the landscape. And this is the highest village of Keros, called Choa Choa. And as you can see in the background is the rock huts with the thatched roofs. These huts are about the size of a small child's bedroom. And they usually house between 3 and 5 people. And here is just a picture of some of my teachers, the ones that I was fortunate enough to have pictures of to share with you. So, what do these traditions have to offer us in the modern world? Well, as you can see, the Kero and the Quechuan Indians live a very, very harsh lifestyle. You can't tell from the slides that I showed, but the remoteness and isolation of these villages is something quite great. To put it into perspective, the main town of Cusco, which is where you would probably find your nearest hospital, is at the closest a day's hike and a 7-hour drive away. So the closest modern medical attention, if you happen to get sick or break an arm or leg, is hours and hours and hours from you. And the first part of that would be at least an hour hike. So these medicine traditions that were held on to were something very, very special to these people. The Andean people in general are a practical people. They do not lend themselves to doing things out of the sentiment. They do things because they help to practically enrich their lives. If it did not help to practically enrich their lives, they would not concern themselves with the upkeep nor the passing down of these traditional wisdoms. Starting in the 80s, the spiritual elders of these traditions decided to open their knowledge and wisdom to the Western world. What is truly, truly remarkable about all of this is that the Kero were in pretty much isolation from the Western world until about the 1950s. Yes, they sometimes made their way down to Cusco City. They saw the modern world, but they themselves were living isolated, high above the timberline, where the Spanish did not go. Because of this, they were able to preserve their ancient way of life and their ancient form of the spiritismo, or spiritism, which is what I teach and offer to this modern world. By holding on to that, we have a direct link into the past, into a people that were not indoctrinated into our modern Western understandings, yet were allowed to have the space and time to develop their own unique view of the world and to bring that into our modern era, which offers us a glimpse back into the heart of humanity, into the presence of what we once were, and how to connect with that ancient knowledge. Because the ancient way of teaching is not the modern way of teaching of the modern religions, of Christianity, of Islam, of even Buddhism. These all have been modernized to such a degree. Yet these teachings from the Peruvian Andes have remained virtually untouched for centuries. These traditions are living traditions. That means that the knowledge has an unbroken lineage, going back through generations and generations of practice. It has been passed down from parent to child, from grandparent to grandchild, in an unbroken way. There came a time, of course, earlier in the last century or so, where the pressure to conform to the modern world left most of the world with broken traditions, especially in South America. The Quero were able to preserve a more pure, what we would consider a more pure form of this tradition. They are, to this day, at the annual festival of Cororiti, the festival of the divine masculine, they are still to this day referred to as the keepers of the spirit of the Inca, because they continue to live the most traditional life of the tribes that encompassed the Incan Empire. And they have a unique understanding of the role of spiritual energy in daily lives. A very unique understanding of what energy and the experience of energy and how it relates to the physical phenomenon that we experience on a day-to-day basis. It is a way of looking at the world that in most areas had not been developed to this degree. Of course, in the old world, in Africa, we have the spiritual technologies based on the art of prayer, on the art of petitioning to the heavens and opening a line of communication in that way. And of course, in the Eastern world, we had the understandings and the teachings of meditation. But what the South American world offers to us is something very unique amongst the spiritual traditions and understandings of the world, and that is they work primarily and first with intention. Intention, it is said, has the power to drive the living energies of the universe. Human intention has the power to make changes in our energetic universe, which then in turn makes changes in our physical universe. They discovered a way of living that was not primarily based on what we would nowadays call the mundane minutia of daily life, but a standard of living that saw a style of living that saw every aspect of life, no matter how uncomfortable, as being sacred, as holding living energy. And they were, in fact, more preoccupied with living energy than with the day-to-day occurrences. In this way, they were able to take a different view of their reality and were able to access certain possibilities and potentialities that were not available to another cosmovision or another way of seeing the world. This understanding of the world of living energy led to the development and growth of the Incan Empire, which for the most part was developed and some say conquered, though that's not a true sense of what the word means, but it was actually more based on a trade empire. It was almost all non-violent in the growth of this. And the very name of the ancient Incan Empire, which is Tawantinsuyu, meant Taiwan for tin is a word that means to unite together, not to conquer. There's another word for that, a variation of the word kuti. But tin means to unite together. Suyu meaning nations. So the ancient name of the Incan Empire itself, Tawantinsuyu, meant 4 nations united together, forming one beautiful, beautiful empire that was based on these understandings of living energy and addressing things from the perspective of living energy. Something unique because of the ideas of the Inca and the Andean people that formed the Incan Empire is inclusiveness, spiritual inclusiveness. In so many traditions you find, oh, my way is correct. You should not question what I have to say. You should follow by root, word for word. It's a type of gospel. But no, in the Andes, it was your job to question. It was your job to try things at a different way, because the spiritual work of the Andes is likened to a spiritual art. It's something that we can practice. It's something that through practice we become better at. It's something that helps to increase our well-being and livelihood. And because of this, the peoples who our ancestors who brought this information and these understandings to us understood that there needed to be an inclusive nature to these spiritual teachings, understood that there were cultural and religious differences. The Incan Empire, being comprised of over several dozen ethnic groups, each practicing its own religion, showed this unifying idea of inclusiveness by including all of the idols of all those religions inside of their main temples, so that no matter what tribe you were, you could come and celebrate in the main temple with your gods. Another understanding that led to this type of inclusiveness was that we all have a unique relationship with spirit, and that any human could develop or learn something of spiritual importance. And if they were a closed down type of tradition, these new ideas would not be welcome within it. They would be cast aside. But instead, with the inclusiveness of the Andean tradition and of the mindset of the Inca Empire, they were able to include even foreign spiritual traditions. Even when Christianity came with the colonists, which was seen, the colonists were seen pretty much as a destructive force within the world of the Inca. But even with that, they saw light within the religions, the Christianity, the Catholicism that was being brought with the Spanish. They saw a light in it and incorporated aspects that they found beautiful into their own rituals and understanding, because the light is the light. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It needs to be honored. And this is something that is quite unique amongst the Andean traditions, the Peruvian traditions of shamanism, and the Incan Empire of old, which in fact was one of the largest intercontinental empires in the ancient world, rivaling many of the empires of Europe and Asia, and doing this without a form of written language. Which brings us to the overwhelming understanding of the Incan Empire and the Andean traditions, the Peruvian traditions of shamanism, which is the Kausai Pacha. And Kausai means life force, living energy, and Pacha means time, space, or universe, the universe of living energies, which we see quite literally as an interconnected web of light, of crystalline light that spreads out throughout the entire cosmos, connecting all things, from the highest spirits to the lowest material creation, connecting through all the levels of density, through the three worlds, the upper world of the Hanak Pacha, the middle world of the Kai Pacha where we live, and the lower world of the Uhu Pacha, combining and connecting those three worlds in a type of energy grid or morphic field of life that connects us all, even the creator, to the creation. And that we, being connected, being actually woven together of the luminous fibers of this Kausai Pacha, this luminous web, that have woven tighter and tighter until they form our physical body, meaning that we are in constant contact with the world of life, with the world of living energy, with the world of information, connected, plugged in, turned on by this world. We can connect with the morphic field of the Kausai Pacha, and we can bring the spirits to us. We can learn to communicate with them. And this is all done through Aini. And Aini is the closest thing to a moralistic imperative amongst the Inca or Andean traditions. The Inca and the Andean traditions did not qualify things in the ideas of good and evil, but yet qualified them more within the energetic, perceptive experience of heavy or light, meaning heavy, hucha, light being sami. And they realized that things that were hucha or heavy led to conflicts in our life, led to illnesses within us, led to a beat down kind of energy state where we would not put ourselves forward, but yet suffer through the weight that we have developed or around us. Sami, being the light refined energies of the universe, always bring with them health and well-being. They have a buoyant quality. They have an effervescent, animating quality, and they help us to transform from one state of being to another state of being. But Aini is the understanding and the law of how the Kausai Pacha works, and how our connection to the spirits and our connections to nature allow us to be able to communicate and to befriend the spirits and nature. And this is all done through Aini. At its simplest, Aini means today for me, tomorrow for you. And it is a form of divine sharing that has allowed life in those high, painfully isolated environments of limited resources to be possible because of the idea of sharing it in the community, that you have something special to offer just by being you. You have a right to life, and you have something special to offer. And today you'll offer it to another. Tomorrow you will allow another to offer what's so special about them for the enrichment of yourself. That is at its basis, divine sharing. It moved all the way up into the Inca Empire, which, to understand the Inca priests, the governors, and then, of course, the Inca himself, were high-level initiates of these shamanic teachings, if you will, of these metaphysical understandings. That meaning that the Inca had the most living energy in the empire and had the greatest responsibility for redistributing that living energy to helping the whole empire to survive and move on. A redistribution of life itself. This was seen within the taxing system of the Inca, where the taxes were your physical labor, potato seeds, and weavings. And then when an area of the Incan Empire was having a hard time because of natural disasters, such as a flood or an earthquake, they were able to send potato seeds to reestablish the potato crop, which is the main food source. The empire was able to send textiles, new textiles, to keep the people warm. And they were able to also send labor to help rebuild that community. And this is something quite beautiful. This is something quite powerful. But Aini is even more than just this. Aini is the way that we interact with the world itself. It's a way that we become part and learn to play a role in our energetic environment. So Aini can be disrupted or broken on any level in Nikai Pacha or our middle world. We have free will here in the middle world. It's a very special and powerful gift. And free will brings a brand new aspect to the idea of Aini, and that means I can live in Aini today, or I can choose not to live in Aini. You could do something for me. I could choose to reciprocate or to pay you back in a sense, or I could choose to be greedy and hold on to it myself. When I choose to be greedy and not to give back what I am receiving, I start to develop hucha. Hucha is always developed from a breakdown of the natural state of Aini, whether it be the Aini between your mind and body, the Aini between your physical life and your spiritual life, the Aini between you and your community or your social Aini. The Aini can be broken on many different levels, and each level it's broken on creates and causes us as humans to accumulate hucha, which is a heavy, dense, energetic substance that leads to an experience of feeling heavy, our limbs feeling heavy, us just not feeling like we have enough energy to push through life, like we're being weighted down. All of these are symptoms of having hucha land on you. And the hucha develops and encrusts until it can lead from just little bits of pressure that you feel from time to time that interrupt your well-being to the point where it can cause conflicts in your day-to-day life, and if left unresolved long enough can lead to serious illnesses. The other energy of the Kausai Pacha and the other part of Aini is Sami, that buoyant energy we were talking about that restores balance, if you will, or harmony, restores a living energy to you, a form of animating essence that helps you to heal, to grow, and to teach, to become something more than you were before. But Aini is the idea of divine reciprocity. It is also deeply entrenched in our work with the spirit world, because the spirit world, whether we're talking about nature spirits or disincarnate human spirits, they have a role to play in our evolution, and we have a role to play in their evolution. But that role is so hard to play if we are not able to communicate back and forth. So Aini also lays down the laws of spiritual communication. It is a very big concept, of course, much too large for this short little webinar. And that brings us to nature mysticism. The Pakokuna traditions are traditions of nature mystics. What that means is that they receive their information from nature. They communicate with their venerated Ahus, their mountain gods, the venerated spirit of Pachamama, Mother Earth herself. They work in concert and in a harmonious way with these nature beings first, to learn to connect to nature and to learn to master our ability at Aini through our work with the nature spirits, eventually leading to the celestial spirits of the upper world and into the ability to connect with our guiding stars. And it all starts with a dialogue with nature. Not the dialogue with nature of the ecologist that were trained in academia. That's a very important form of a dialogue with nature. That's a form that allows us to take a look at an ecosystem and see how the different parts of the ecosystem work together to create life within that ecosystem. But by a dialogue with nature, what I am referring to is an ability to go out into nature and to sit with her and to have a conversation with her. Not the type of conversation that you or I could have as human two-leggeds, or the type of conversation that you could have with your pet and four-leggeds, but yet a type of non-verbal communication that is based more in a feeling sense than in a visual or auditory sense, based less on concepts and less on understandings and more on the state of being, more on our actual experience of the moment right now, of this beautiful divine moment. And it's an allegory that shows how you or I could go out onto a lake and in a very short amount of time, the stresses of the everyday world start to melt away. And our essence becomes still like the surface of that lake. We become comfortable and relaxed. And that is actually the beginnings of our dialogue with nature. Beginnings of learning to connect with the nature beings. And they have so much to teach us. Pachamama and the nature beings teach us how to perfect our Aini, how to step back into the world, how to heal the wounds of the past, and how to move forward into a glorious and beautiful new destiny, to move toward our goals of evolution and elevation so that we can become a true light in this world, a transformative light that can help others to reach for their dreams, that can inspire the world to push for the change that it wants to see. As many great mystics have said, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We're the ones. It's time for us to stand up. The prophecies and the knowledge of our ancestors were to get us to this point. And in the future, those prophecies, those religions are not going to inform and help the growth of our descendants the way they helped our growth, because they were meant to get us here, to this point, to this new age. Now that we have stepped fully into this new information age, it is up to us to set the precedence. It is up to us to set the mood and the frequency and the power of this age. It's up to us to lead to this brand new Koripacha, or golden age. That is up to us to set the steps in motion that will lead to that golden age for our descendants. We are at a very, very beautiful time in life. But it all begins with a dialogue with nature, learning to be able to communicate first with the nature beings, then with the celestial beings and spirits. And the beginning part of this all is known as the Panna, and that is the right side of the tradition, which has to do with mystical knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and our place within the world. Expanding our consciousness to include within our energetic environment other energies that we might find discordant and uncomfortable, and learning to harmonize those energies. And this is all done through a type of energy organ or membrane that in the West and East has for a long time been understood as the aura. In the South American countries, and especially in Peru, it is known as the Pacpo. And the Pacpo means bubble. It's actually known as the calcite Pacpo, the bubble of life energy, the bubble of living energy. And this bubble is where all the luminous threads of the universe connect into our energy body. This bubble of living energy is quite literally our light body. It is quite literally the light body that have been talked about in spiritual traditions since time immemorial. This kind of solar consciousness, this light body that allows us to be in communication with the natural and spiritual worlds directly through this organ of interchange, this organ of intention. And a lot of the work of the Panna has to do with building this organ. Because though we all have an aura or a pakpo, a bubble, it's not always very strong. Sometimes it has rips and tears in it. Sometimes it is a little deformed with hucha. Sometimes there has even been soul losses, bits of information and vital essence that has been, in a way, taken offline from the rest of our energetic and physical system. So a lot of the work of the right side of the Panna is about developing the skills of our Pakpo, learning to operate our own bubble of living energy, and learning to maintain our bubble of living energy, and how we have a role not only in our own lives, but in the lives of all of those around us, and that we can take an actual stance in the world from the perspective of energy itself. We do not have to do a lot of pushing and pulling of the physical fabrics, but a movement of the energetic fabrics of life. Which brings us to the idea of the muhukoya. By developing our pakpo and falling into deeper and deeper aini, or relationship, with our natural world, we start to slowly awaken this muhukoya. Muhu meaning seed, and koya meaning queen of the Incan Empire, is an understanding that within every one of us is a tiny little seed waiting to open and waiting to be developed, that holds our dreams and our wildest potential. How we can develop what is so unique and beautiful about ourselves is contained within that muhu koya, the seed of the queen, or muhu inca, seed of the king. And it's best known, or best related to in our language, as a seed of personal power that helps us to develop. And this seed is slowly germinated, is slowly activated by our interconnections with the natural and spiritual worlds. Slowly, through those movements, through that relationship that we develop with spirits and nature, we start to grow our Inca seed our muhukoya, until we can develop it into something that is akin to a flower blooming in nature, the blooming of our potentiality in this modern world. Is the same as the blooming of our potentiality in the ancient world, because our potentials have not changed. What has changed is our perspective of what is and isn't possible. But the Buhukoya, or the seed of personal power, explains how each of us have within us the ability to develop the dignity of a king or queen. We do this through an interconnection with the natural world and with the web of life, the Kausai Pacha. And in this diagram, you will see Kausai written at the bottom, the foundation, the grid work, the earth. And then there are certain ways that we interface or connect with the Kausai Pacha. One of those is called Yankai, which is the ability of our physical bodies, our ability to actually do things is Yankai. Munai, which means love in a sense in Quechua, but it's more than just love. It's the power of love and will together. It's the power of your choice in the world. It's also the part of us that allows us to have spiritual communications. It's the understanding of being a heart-centered or a heart-based person. And if any of you have been to Cusco, Peru, you will probably quickly notice, and if you haven't been and you ever get a chance to go to Cusco, Peru, you're going to find that the common folk, if you have a hard time understanding what heart-centered living might look like, even the common folk in the area of Cusco, Peru, are very heart-centered people. The way they react, the way they incorporate new information, the way they welcome you, it's all from the heart, all from a very centered and balanced place. But Munai is also where we have the ability to receive information from the spirit world and to send information into the spirit world. And then we have Yachai, which means intellect. Yachai means knowledge and learning. And it's our ability to form models and ideas and concepts and that we can live our lives by. But more than just forming ideas and concepts, there's a higher form of Yachai. And that higher form, that Hatin Yachai, lead us to what we call the Wilka Yuyai, the sacred remembering, the remembering a very powerful moment, mystical experience where we remember where we came from and where we're going. And we start to divorce ourselves in a way from Socratic time and start to enter into a more cosmic time, if you will. A state of infinity starts to become our experience of the world instead of a state of incremented time units. We start to realize that we can actually step into the now, and in the now we can live from the stance of infinity itself. These are all, Yankai, Munai, and Yachai are all ways in which we interface or engage the Kausai Pacha, or the universe of living energy. And each of these are also our instruments of Aini, is how we share our living energy back into that web and back into our communities, into our families, into our social groups, is through these three powers, and of course the mastering of these three powers. And these three powers line up on the body as Yankai, Munai, and Yachai as three diamonds. Yankai being a lower diamond, lower part of our body. Munai being the core, our heart. and Yachai existing in the area of our heads, where our knowledge is based. This all leads us to an experience of the Kanchai. By connecting to the luminous web, the sacred silence of the universe, in a sense, we are able to start to develop in a very good way our Yankai, our Munai, and our Yachai, which creates the Manko Wasi, which is the temple of internal service. When we have perfected to some degree these three main powers in our way of interfacing with the universe of living energies, we then start to develop the ability to truly see ourselves as part of the light. A very high state of development. And with that, I would like to lead us into a practice, because all this philosophical understandings is great, but they don't allow us to truly do something. They don't allow us to truly be able to experience what it is I'm talking about. The experience being more important than the knowledge itself is something that teaches us so much more. These traditions are sometimes referred to as things that can be taught, things that can be learned but not taught. So, with that, I would like to give you all a little experience of this world of living energy. A little bit of an experience of what we mean by connecting to the Kausai Pacha. So if you would all please find a comfortable seating position or lying position, wrist and feet uncrossed, feet firmly and flat on the floor, and begin to breathe. Breathing first deep into a relaxed stomach and high up into the chest to full capacity, and exhaling. And doing that 2 more times, breathing in first to your spine, to the chest to full capacity, and releasing. Very, very good. And now breathe all the air out of your lungs, completely empty them, and hold on the out breath. Begin breathing in through your nose, connecting tongue to upper palate. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Retaining on the out breath, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding on the out breath, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Returning to a normal breath. Begin breathing very, very effortlessly, very gently, into a relaxed stomach, high up into the chest, and turning around, breathing out effortlessly and gently, relaxing on every breath. And now just imagining for a moment that the seat of your consciousness is in your head and eyes. Closing your eyes if they are not already closed, and slowly rolling them up into your head. Imagine that they are free like ping pong balls, and they start to roll back through the cavity of your skull, rolling down your spine, and dropping your awareness and your consciousness down into your stomach. The seat of awareness is in your stomach now, not your head. Dropping down. Centered in your stomach. Allow your consciousness to send out feelers or to expand from your stomach. With each breath expanding further and further around you. First, you will notice you're filled of personal space. That space you don't like people to get up into. And allowing your imaginal mind to create an image of that space. Allowing your feeling sense to lead you. How big is that space around your body? What shape is it? Is it round or rhombus? Does it have divots or pits in the space? Notice everything you can about your field of personal space. Is there colors it makes you think of? Tastes, even memories. So just take a quick note of these things. And allow your awareness to keep spreading from your stomach and navel out further. See if you are able to feel the dimensions and furniture in the room you are in. Just by feeling its presence around you. You need to do nothing but become aware of this perfect, infinite moment. Don't try to think about it or understand it. Just allow yourself to be it, to be the experience. Allow yourself to explore your room through energy. What does the furniture feel like from your awareness alone, spreading out from your navel? What does the space in the room feel like from your awareness alone? And now, without thought, without concentration or the need to understand, allow these words of Quechua, the language of the Inca, to move through you and around you. Feel them more than understand them. Hai ai, saiwa. Kinti, ampui, 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 siwa kinti. Hai ai, wilka hanek pacha manta saiwa. Tayayu kuya. Tekse muyuk hatin kaipen. Werakocha hatin songkon. Werakocha nikakni sankaipi. Tupakui. Kausaipi kaiwakui. And with that, make the intention to open this field of personal space above your head. And allow the life-giving energies of the universe to effortlessly flow into your crown. Moving down your crown into the nape of your neck, cradling your brain like hands holding your brain, and anywhere in or around your head that feels heavy, stagnant, out of harmony. If it is ready to move, allow it to break off into this light that's coming in through your crown. And now moving down your spine, illuminating your neck, your shoulders, and anywhere in your neck or shoulders that is feeling heavy, tense, or stagnant. Allow it to break loose into this flow of living energy, moving further down your spine, across your rib cage, into your chest cavity, illuminating your lungs and heart, and anywhere within your chest cavity that's heavy, stagnant, or tense. If it is ready to move, allow it to break off into this flow of energy, moving now into your abdomen, illuminating your pancreas, gallbladder, liver, stomach, large and small intestines. And allow anywhere in your abdomen that feels heavy or stagnant, that if it is ready to move, that it breaks loose and moves in this flow of living energy now, entering into your pelvic region, your reproductive organs, your ovaries, testes, colon, rectum, and anywhere within your pelvic region that feels heavy, stagnant, or dense. Allow it to move, to flow freely, if it wishes to, into this flow of energy. Now moving down our legs toward our feet. And anywhere in your legs or feet that feels heavy, stagnant, uncomfortable, if it is ready to, allow it to move into this flow of energy, this flow of awareness. And allow all that heaviness to start to collect between your feet in a dense, beautiful little package. Because you have brought the light of awareness and the Creator to this heaviness. It is now ready to be offered to Pachamama, or Mother Earth, as a beautiful and powerful food to start in our Wilka Yuyai, our sacred remembering, to learn the art of Aim. This is a prayer through which Pachamama can understand all that is going on in your life, and that she can turn this heaviness into fertilizer for your dreams, for your goals. Opening your field of personal space below your feet, invite Pachamama to come and get her beautiful gift, allowing her to take it deep into the earth with her, where she can form a stronger alliance with you. Closing below your feet and returning to the flow, entering in through your crown. Allow that flow of living energy to replace any of the empty spaces left in your head from the removal of the heavier energy. As it moves down your body into your neck and shoulders, replacing any of the empty spaces left behind by the heavier energy. Moving down into your chest and stomach, replacing those energies with light. Moving down into your pelvis and legs, replacing that energy with light. And moving out into your field of personal space, replacing any empty spaces with the light. Allowing your field of space to become a little bigger, a little rounder and a little smoother. These exercises have a way of completing themselves. Continue until you feel the flux of the energy dissipate. Now, with your awareness still in your stomach, take note of the energy within your personal space again. How has it changed since we began this little exercise? Expand your awareness beyond your personal space out into the room and explore how this simple little exercise, what changes it has made in the quality of the energy within your room. Explore the furniture and the empty space in the room. How does it feel now? Very good. Allow yourself to come back up into your room and into your experience of the now. Returning, slowly stretching, and softly opening your eyes and gazing around your room. With this, my transmission for this webinar is complete. Fellowships of the Spirit has been so wonderful and has invited me to teach several workshops starting in August. In August 27th and 28th at Fellowships of the Spirit in Lilydale, New York, I will be teaching a workshop called Healing the Soul, Vibrating Wholeness for Planetary Growth. And this workshop addresses the understandings of growing a soul from the Andean perspective. Of course, we are all born with a soul, yes, but we empower it and develop it in different ways throughout our lives. And this workshop addresses the understanding of how we can grow our souls toward a new destiny as becoming transformational agents upon the earth. It's important for me to say that in all these workshops, it is not my intention to try to develop Andean priests, but rather to share the spiritual technologies of these people for the enrichment of your own personal life, for the enrichment of your own personal spiritual path. It's not about trying to convert people or to grow a movement, but yet is about sharing some spiritual technologies from the ancient past that I believe hold immense amount of value to our modern world, where they are probably needed the most, where we really need to relearn the sacred art of interpersonal communication. The second workshop, which is September 27th through the 28th, is Navigating the Seven Dimensions of Shamanic Consciousness, or what we also would call the Conscious Vara. And the seven dimensions are different levels or fields of vibration that exist in all of our lives. And inside of these different dimensions are different types of entities or spiritual beings. And each one of these entities or spiritual beings can help us in healing ourselves, in healing our ancestry, in returning to our luminous nature, which is the true goal. They also represent humongous amounts of information for our mediumship or our healing work in this world. These spirits, once they are connected to and once they are befriended and understood how to be in aini with, they become indispensable helpers in our spiritual life. And not just for ourselves personally, though they do help us on the path of personal development, they also help us in our day-to-day world and in our work with others, especially for those of us that are working as mediums or as healers. And these classes, just another side note, they offer a unique counterpoint to us as well of a spiritual technology developed in a different type of conceptual reality. In the Andes, this would be called Yanitin, which means the harmonious interactions between opposing forces. And it's part of where we're heading. It's part of creating that golden age, that Koripacha I was talking about. That golden age is created when we are able to all come together and speak our truth, where all the spiritual religions and all the spiritualist circles could come together and share with one another what makes them unique. And instead of there being the challenging or the fighting for who is right in all of it, to understand that everyone's right in their own sense in it, and it is through our differences that the growth for the future will come about. Not from us relating away between the spiritual traditions and making them all one level playing field, but by us actually doing the work to accept each spiritual tradition out there on its own terms and understanding that it is perfect for the people who developed it, and that it, in one way or another, holds one of the many keys, or is one of the emanations of the multifaceted Creator. And that it is by the work of our time, the Therapy Pacha, the reweaving happens, where the peoples of the four corners come back together and weave their information and knowledge together. And this is only possible if we are able to celebrate our differences instead of trying to relate them away. Just because there is a difference in opinion does not mean that anyone is wrong. So it's very important to learn different ways of approaching the spiritual world. And in so doing, we spiral closer and closer to that unfathomable divine truth of the nature of our creation. And then on October 22nd and 23rd, I will be presenting at Fellowships of the Spirit, Guided by Starlight, Finding Sacred Direction in Our Life. In the Andean tradition, we are always befriending Mother Nature first because she is our mother and she is where we live. But then we are connecting the luminous webs that lead to the celestial heights, the celestial dimensions. And in those celestial dimensions, there is what we know of as a Chaskakuna, or star, and every one of us comes from one point of light out on the horizon. Each one of us have our own unique physical star that we come from. And yes, more than one person can come from the same star, but each of us have a unique vibration of that star's light, because never before did a light move down through the dimensions from that star to this point on Earth in this particular way and time. In the astrological alignment is something unique to each of us. And Guided by Starlight presents the understandings and the teachings that allow us to connect with our Earth star, our solar star and our celestial star. And at each of these stars are a certain type of guidance and guardian in our lives. And they each hold different aspects of our true, authentic selves that we are trying to develop. And as we develop and work and learn to work in concert with our stars closer and closer, we start what is truly the mastering of this human life, to accept ourselves as something unique, our flaws and our successes as something unique, and to move forward in life. I am very excited to be presenting these 3 classes, and I hope that you will all think about joining us in the sacred and beautiful environment of Lilydale, which is unlike any other place I have ever visited on this beautiful earth. Something unique and quirky in and of itself that I find very, very wonderful. And so I hope that you all will seriously consider joining us for one or all of these workshops. They can be taken in any order you would like. If you want to start at navigating, that's fine. Or if you just wanted to do the guided by starlight, that is fine. They each have a little introductory section, a little intermediate section, and a little advanced section in all of them. So whether you can only join for 1, 2, or all 3 workshops, please, you are more than welcome. And I believe that Hank and Fellowships have some special discounts also available for early registration for either one of these, for any of these courses, or for the entire series together. And with that, I want to thank you all. Samin Chaiki, Waki Chaikuna, Pani Chaikuna. Blessings to you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much. Good night.